This is American Ground Radio. I'm Stephen Parr with Louis R. Avalone.
All right, so many NFL teams are already in training camps.
Sure.
But things are not shaping up well.
Really?
The players may be shaping up, but things are not shaping up well for the National Football League. Because last season...
Is this with Aaron Rodgers, the contract dispute and what he's doing?
No, it has nothing to do with that. No, we're not talking about that at all.
Oh, okay.
What we're talking about is, last season, the NFL made a decision to promote Black Lives Matter.
They did.
Which stands for anything but making the point that Black Lives Matter.
Right. And the question is, are you actually supporting the organization Black Lives Matter, or do you support the concept that Black lives as being a subset of all lives?
Or maybe all lives matter.
Right.
How about that?
How about life matter?
Okay. Well, ratings declined to a point that the NFL's revenue from advertising really took a very serious hit. And you've got renewal deals that are set for this year. But I think millions of fans are going to tune out this season.
Did you watch an NFL game last year?
Actually, I did.
You did?
I did. I know you didn't.
I didn't watch a single game last year. First year in a very long time.
I'm absolutely done now. I'm absolutely done now because now Roger Goodell, first of all, I don't have a problem with this Black National Anthem. We'll talk about what that is. But, I
have a problem calling it the Black National Anthem.
Okay, but, it's actually...
Because there's not a black nation.
But it was first a poem to honor...
I have no problem with that.
Abraham Lincoln.
I have no problem with that. But calling something a Black National Anthem suggests that there is a subset of America that is its own black nation.
Understand.
That is different than the United States of America.
But it is an anthem that has existed within the black community for many, many years.
But if you had a white national anthem, would that be okay?
Okay.
If you had an Asian national anthem, would that be okay?
What if you knelt during the Black National Anthem? Oh, man, mind's blown here.
Right?
Okay, here's the thing. The NFL played, and the anthem is Lift Every Voice and Sing.
I have no problem with that
played that
song.
During the first week of the 2020 season. I think Alicia Keys may have sung that song before the Super Bowl.
She's a very good singer.
Okay, here's my point. The NFL now, they're back. They're doubling down on their woke messaging. They're going to introduce more social justice messaging on the fields and on the players' helmets during the upcoming 2021 season. Okay. So Roger Goodell has doubled down. His ratings have declined. His advertising revenue has declined.
Viewership's down.
I mean, I think
attendance is down.
I think he has just driven the final nail into the NFL's coffin.
I think it's going to take a while. They'll still be able to survive a long time. And look, the ratings for the NBA playoffs have been just god-awful, and yet there's going to be another season next year for the NBA. So you haven't... But
in all fairness... I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying you haven't killed the league.
Okay, but in all fairness, watching the NBA games, I'm watching the NBA finals, with my son, there's not that woke messaging on the court like there was last year.
Right.
I mean, I don't feel like I'm being preached to. I'm actually...
You were last year.
I'm actually focusing on the talent.
Okay.
The wondrous talent on the court.
But that's still viewership there for the NBA is still way down, like a third of what it was last year.
Okay. So, yeah, we can talk about the woke messaging, et cetera, et cetera. But I want you to hear a couple of clips of the commissioner of the NFL, the aforementioned Roger Goodell. And this is a clip where he talks about how important black people are to the NFL.
Without black players, there would be no National Football League.
Is that a controversial statement?
No, I think it's accurate.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait. Well, you sure? You want to think about that one for a minute?
Well,
no, wait a minute.
Without black players,
there
would not be the NFL.
Okay, so you're saying that white players aren't as good of athletes?
Not at all.
That's what you're saying.
That's not what I'm saying.
Because no, wait.
Emmitt Smith was black.
No. Isn't this the very same type of statement that got Jimmy the Greek? You remember Jimmy the Greek?
I do remember.
Remember Jimmy the Greek? He said blacks had been bred to be better athletes since the Civil War. He said the slave owner would breed his big black with his big woman so that he would have a big black kid. That's where it all started. That's Jimmy the Greek. He was... obviously,
and he was sent out for that fairly racist statement.
But isn't the commissioner of the NFL saying the very same thing?
No,
He's saying that blacks are inherently better athletes.
That's not what he said. I think that's too far. Look. What percentage of players in the NFL?
I don't think I'm going too far there.
What percentage of players in the NFL are black?
It's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I've never had a problem with that. I don't even know why we're talking about this.
Because you brought this up. But the point that without black players, there would not be an NFL, certainly not the NFL we know today, I think that's a factual statement.
I see it very differently.
You wouldn't have Patrick Mahomes.
I see it very differently. I think what he's saying.
You wouldn't have Ezekiel Elliott.
Okay, but maybe you have a Terry Bradshaw. Maybe you have a Roger Staubach.
Okay, now you could also say without white players, there would not be the NFL. You could say without Hispanic players, there would not be the NFL.
No, he's saying...
He only said black. No, that's the problem I have.
What he's saying, I believe, is very racist. And many people may disagree with me, but that's okay.
Okay.
But then Goodell goes on to say this.
Protests around the country are emblematic of the centuries of silence, inequality, and oppression of black players, coaches, fans, and staff.
Sorry, centuries of oppression of black players?
You know what he's doing? You know what he's doing here? This is the commissioner of the NFL. He's condoning violence. He's condoning looting and arson and rioting. You had two...
do you mind if I hear that again?
Play it again.
All right.
Protests around the country are emblematic of the centuries of silence, inequality, and oppression of black players, coaches, fans, and staff.
His sentence doesn't seem to make sense to me at all.
What he's saying is this is why there was so much looting. This is why there was so much arson. This is why there were murders during these riots. Over 500 violent murders in 2020. That's why. And he's justifying it. He's justifying it to an entire country. And he's saying it's okay because the reason that happened, the reason that you deserve to die, the reason that your city deserves to burn is because of the centuries of oppression
of black players. The NFL hasn't been around for centuries, but okay. Look, and I'm not convinced he's condoning the violence. I think he's gaslighting you about the fact that there was violence. He didn't say the violent riots. The riots were emblematic, whatever he's trying to say there. He said the protests were. I think he's trying to gaslight America into thinking that these were all peaceful protests, and they quite clearly were not.
Stephen, you have really jump to a conclusion there. He's not saying anything about. He's not making.
He said protests. He said protests. I think he's trying to say the protests are okay because there was no. He's not saying the violent protests were okay.
You're reading way too much into it.
I think you're reading way too much into
respect.
this.
He's saying
the protests.
That the reason that this happened, is because of X.
Yes,
and X is racism over centuries.
But he wasn't saying the violent protest. He said the protest.
Well, he didn't make any distinction between the two.
And that's why I say he's trying to gaslight America into thinking that there was no violence in this.
And I don't know. Do we have time for that Martin Luther King clip?
Real quick.
My freedom fighters, wherever they are, but I still believe that nonviolence is the strongest approach. The organized nonviolent resistance is the most powerful weapon that oppressed people can use in breaking loose from the bondage of oppression.
I hope Roger Goodell is listening to that. That is a leader. Roger Goodell, you're not.
Let's get to the top 3 things you need to know before tomorrow. Turns out hundreds of votes in Georgia were double counted during last November's presidential election. A private group called Voter GA analyzed thousands of absentee ballots that were scanned into the counting machines in Fulton County during the election. They found hundreds of them that were identical to ballots that had been counted in previous batches. They also showed video of counters simply putting stacks of absentee ballots into scanners twice. While the discrepancies they showed were not enough to overturn the election on their own, they are part of a series of election irregularities in the Peach State and specifically in Fulton County, including tens of thousands of people who voted in counties they no longer live in, which is a violation of state law.
I mean, you've heard the saying, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe they found these irregularities. It's not enough on its own.
On its own. But they haven't seen all of the ballots yet. This is just in the ones they looked at.
Yeah, and denial is not just a river in Egypt.
Second thing you need to know before tomorrow, Sarah Huckabee Sanders has raised another $4.2 million for her campaign to be the next governor of Arkansas. That brings her total to more than $9 million, 2/3 of which came from out-of-state donors. The former White House spokesperson is running against current Arkansas Attorney General Leslie Rutledge and 4 Democrat candidates for the governorship. Current Governor Asa Hutchinson is term limited.
And again, a Republican, Asa Hutchinson. I think, look, Arkansas is winning. I mean, they have done very well.
Their economy
with Governor Hutchinson.
did much better in the lockdown than most other states. I think that's absolutely true.
And hopefully that will continue with more Republican leadership in Little Rock.
Third thing you need to know before tomorrow, a bill that would outlaw imports from parts of China passed the U.S. Senate unanimously yesterday. If it becomes law, it would prevent any product produced in the Xinjiang region of China from being imported to the United States. That's the region of China where communists are accused of forcing Uyghur Muslims into labor concentration camps. The bill is co-sponsored by Senator Mark Rubio, Republican out of Florida, and Senator Jeff Merkley, the Democrat out of Oregon.
Oh, the Democrat?
Out of Oregon.
Oh, wow.
In the state where Nike is supposed to be headquartered.
So
Nike, which has been accused of using Uyghur slave labor to build its shoes.
Oh, well, a Democrat speaking out against communism.
Interesting.
Is the White House listening?